Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Harmony Spiritual Center. Those of you who are in the room and those of you who are watching from Facebook now live or wherever you may be watching a little bit later on. We are a New Thought Spiritual Center. And what we do here is we believe and know for sure that God is everything. God is all. And we are individualized expressions of the one, Spirit, God, George, whatever you call that, which is greater than yourself. We are connected by that point in our lives, who we all are, individualized expressions. And so what we do here is we teach, we serve, we learn, we discuss among ourselves, we share this information. The point being to have the best life possible, because we are all here and your being here is the purpose of your life. To be here, to serve as you, to show up fully as you. And so what we do here is help you to figure out what that is, to help you let go of what isn't true about you, to know what is true about you, and to show up and use your gifts, all of your many gifts, in service to your life and the life of fellow travelers. So that's what we do here. That is what we do here. Last week I talked about the creative urge. And I wanted to talk about that because we are always creating. If we are individualized expressions of the one Spirit, the creative source that created everything, if we are individualized expressions of that, then that means that we create our lives as we move forward, as we go. Whatever you are seeing on the outside, whatever you are manifesting, is coming from the thoughts that you have. And so we get to create our lives, change our lives, decide on our lives by the thoughts we think and what we believe to be true. And what we know to be true is that we are individualized expressions of the one. So that's what last week was about, and I wanted you to know that we're always creating, and whether you create unconsciously without deliberately thinking about it, or whether you create deliberately thinking about it and making decisions about it, you are always creating. You're always creating, always, with your thoughts. Today, I want to talk about the escaped splendor. And that comes from a talk by Edgar Cayce when he talks about the imprisoned splendor. The imprisoned splendor. And what he talks about is that he believes that the greatest miracle that Jesus ever performed, and what he wanted us to know, was to recognize who he was and who we are. That we are individualized expressions of God. And when we know that, when we actually know that, we walk differently in the world. And he walked differently in the world, not from his physical self, but from his consciousness, his God consciousness. That was the greatest miracle that he performed and that he tried to share with us. And that he kept saying that, these and greater things shall you do, because we have that same ability. So what I want to talk about today is how we then released that imprisoned splendor, which I call it the escaped splendor. How do we escape this bodily form that we think is everything, and it isn't. It isn't. And so how do we do that? We realize that we are the consciousness of God. We are not our physical bodies, and we act from that awareness of our consciousness and knowing that that's where creation comes from. So the truth of our being is already within us. The truth is already within us. And the truth is, you know it. You already know. We just sometimes fail to remember. Sometimes we doubt. Sometimes we look at situations around us and think, I have no control over that. What you don't have control over is other people. What you do have control over is yourself and your own thoughts, and what you will or will not do, and where you come from, and what you believe. What you believe. So I want you to know that everything in your life starts with a declaration. It starts with a declaration, and that declaration is, I am. Isn't that what God is? The I am, the great I am. So everything that we want to do or come to in our lives starts with a declaration. I am. I talk all the time about, you probably get sick of it, but too bad, because so it's the only thing that matters. It's really the only thing that matters, individually and for the world. And that is for you to know who you are, God, and what you believe, what you stand for. And I talk about the 5 T's all the time. Your 5 truths or your 5 beliefs, however you want to call that, and then to put them in order. And the reason is so that every time you step out of your, well, you know what? Every time you get out of bed, not just step out of the house, but every time you get out of bed, you affirm, I'm sorry, let me back up. Before you get out of bed, you affirm who you are. This is when I meditate, actually, before I even get out of bed. At the dawn, I do it in the morning, and I know a lot of people are not morning people. That's okay. Whenever you do get up, it's fine. I happen to be a morning person. It's quiet in the morning. The world, our side of the world, has not awakened. So there's not a lot of energy around to distract you. So for me, it's a really good time to meditate. And what happens when I get up in the morning and meditate is I affirm who I am. So I'm going to read this because it's a long thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But I just want to make sure that I tell you this is exactly what I do. First of all, my top 5, I've told you before, God, always first, always, because I want to walk out into the world remembering who I am. I am God, individualized. So I remember that off the top. That's the first thing for me that's important. The second thing to remember is to be courageous, to talk from my truth. No matter what it looks like out there, speak from your truth. You know the truth. Even if no one else around you knows, they don't need to know, only you. Only you need to know your truth, and so speak from that. So, God, courage, unconditional love. Unconditional love means everyone I see, everyone, every stranger, every family member, no matter how we're getting along or not getting along, I know who they are. They're God. They're love. And so if they're unconditional love, what happens is, and I love this song, it was my favorite song, You Can Lay It Down. And what they talk about is, if you listen to the words and read them, what they say is, whatever is bothering you, whatever it is, and I'll share a story later on here in this talk about something. You can lay down whatever's on your heart, whatever burden it is. You can lay it down whenever you like, whenever you decide. Okay, it's up to you. But the key to laying it down is forgiveness. You have to forgive the situation. Whether it's a situation, whether it's a person, it's usually people, a lot of times family, but we have to lay it down. And the key to laying it down is forgiveness. The reason why I talk about unconditional love so much is because when you look at people unconditionally, there's nothing to forgive. Do you get that? When you look at someone and you see who they are, what's to forgive? If you're looking at God, do you need to forgive God? No, you do not. There's nothing to forgive. So it's so much easier to lay it down when you're looking at people unconditionally. You know they are showing up as their best person every single day. Every time you look at them, they are showing up and doing the best they can. Not the best you can, the best they can. So there's nothing to forgive. So you see, it begins to become easier to lay it down. I don't need to be upset or angry with you. I love you, and I understand you're doing the best you can. That's it. That's all. That's what we get to do. So decide what your top 5 beliefs are and how you're going to show up in the world every single day. But this is what I affirm every morning. God is, 3 S's, source, substance, supply. God is source, substance, and supply. If God is the source of everything and you are God, then the source of everything comes from you, comes through you, okay? Everything that you need, all supply, abundance comes through you, okay? All substance, everything you see here, everything that shows up in your life, every manifestation comes through you. So you don't have to be looking around and go, oh my gosh, why is this happening? Look within. Why is it happening? Why is it happening? Why is it acceptable? What are you thinking? What are you allowing? What are you believing? I'm not talking about accidents. Accidents happen. We live in a physical world. Sometimes, the laws work. The universal physical laws work. Two objects can't hold the same space at the same time. So you're going to get into a car wreck if you both are trying to do that. All right? So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you, over your life, what you generally think, how you generally feel, what you generally believe, that's what you draw into your life. Okay? So God is source, substance, and supply. I am consciously, I'm still talking about this affirmation now, okay? I am consciously and intentionally aware of who I am as I move through my life, owning and activating my life. God in me informing and guiding my life to perfect right thinking and clear, quick, right actions in all my affairs in each moment of every day. That's what I affirm. Before I get to anything else, before any meditation thoughts, I affirm this. So that I know I can count on God to be here and speak to me and tell me what is right, what to say, what to do, and I don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't. That's just what we want to do, okay? We have that right to just be clear and say, I expect you to show up in my life. I expect you to be here with me now, always, and give me answers to my questions. Tell me what to say. I don't have to worry about it. People, how do you know what to say? I don't. I'm asking Spirit, what's going on here now? What's mine to do? And sometimes Spirit should say, yours is to shut the hell up. Right? Because sometimes it is, because you don't need to talk, because it's theirs to do, not yours. And sometimes it's to say, well, share an experience, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just be kind. Just do something kind. So what does it look like? It gives God a voice. That's what this affirming does. It gives God a voice that I can hear. I can hear God speaking, because it gets loud out there, right? Everybody's talking. Everybody's got an opinion. There's news going. There's TV going. There's ads going. There's everybody talking. And so you want to know what the sound of God is, or the look of God. It doesn't have to be a sound. I speak to God like I'm speaking to you. But some people see vision. Some people have synchronicity. Show me a sign. Whatever it is, whatever you've asked for, God will do that for you. God will do that for you. So I have a friend, and many of us here that have come to New Thought, to this way of being, have come from fundamental beliefs. I was raised a Southern Baptist here in Waco, Texas. And so I have a friend who, when she came to New Thought, and she let go of her previous belief, she was angry about what they had been sharing with her before, her whole life coming up, that was just not a real thing for her, the belief. It just did not serve her heart, and she did so many things in the name of this religion, and she's angry about that, So she shared with me and a group of friends who were sitting around talking, and she said, I still don't know who God is. I can't figure that out. I don't feel like you feel. Like I don't know what he, she, it sounds like to me. How do I know that? Now, how do you answer a question like that? That's a person asking you, what does faith look like, right? But George said to me, she's grieving. That's why. She's still grieving the loss of her previous religion. And that's what I said to her. I said, you're still grieving, that's why. You're angry, because what happens when you're grieving? The whole 5 stages of grief are still there. You're angry, you're in denial, there's all of that, sorrow, all of those things are happening. And I said, until you grieve the loss of what you thought was real for you and what you believed in such a long time, until you grieve that and release that, you will never be able to allow a new love into your life. Can't do it. So do that. Think about that. And so you know, you guys know that's not easy. Anyone who has been here, who is in here, that has grieved, that has had a loss. And I don't believe, is there anyone in here who has not suffered a loss? Is there anyone in here? Right. There's no one that has not suffered a loss. And every loss that you suffer, is different. The 5 stages of grief, they happen differently. Okay? The stages last differently. And people will tell you, oh my God, are you still grieving about that? Are you still talking about that? Yes. So here's the thing, you know, and you all know that you met Jason, my ex-husband, and we separated, I think, in 2018, divorced in 2020 maybe, 2021, 3 years ago. And it's a sorrow for me, and it's a loss. No longer grieving it, no longer grieving, but there is a scar on my heart. And that's what I was telling my friend. It's a wound, and it heals over, and there is a scar. I will remember. I will remember. I was in this relationship for 37 years. Why would I not remember? Why would I not remember the good, all of the things, and reflect on the experiences and what I learned, right? So it's not like, so we don't get to tell people, get over it. How long has it been? What are you doing? It's your life. It's your life. You get to decide. But what I know is this. When I walk with God, and walking with God is walking with myself because God is in me. But when I am consciously aware and I seek advice all the time, every moment of every day, I want to know, not from me, from a greater knowing. What is mine to do? What is mine to say? Where is mine to go? That's how I am comfortable in my whole life, because I know where it's coming from, because it's what I ask for. It's what we can ask for. Whatever you want, whatever you feel you need is available to you. This is what I'm trying to say. That's how we release the splendor. The splendor is the knowing of who we are. The splendor is knowing who we are and living with that every day. I was coming back from my grandson was in a play this weekend, and he had an afternoon play. So I took my niece and we went up to Argyle. He was playing at a school in Argyle, seeing a Sister Act Junior. It was really cute. On the way back, had to stop at Buc-ee's, right? Because that's the new Texas shop, right? I mean, how do you not? There's Buc-ee's everywhere. So.
It's on the right side of the road.
Hello, hello. It's always on the right side of the road. So I stopped in the Buc-ee's because I wanted these lemon chili peanuts. Have you guys ever had these? These are delicious. They're really great for traveling, for staying awake when you're traveling. Anyway, so I go in there and I'm looking around. And of course, it's a huge store. It's like a Walmart. There's so much stuff in there. And I go in there and look around. And I find the peanuts. I get them. I start walking out. I'm walking out the door, and I just see this woman outside of my eye, and she's got just an armload full of stuff, because you can't go into Buc-ee's and not. I was determined. I'm only getting the one thing. I'm getting back out of there. I'm not getting in. But she had an armful of stuff. And so she was telling the cashier, she said, I haven't paid for any of this stuff, but I just want to go out here, because the baskets were outside the door. So I just want to go out and get a basket, a cart, And so the woman must have said, well, just drop your stuff off here before you go out. Because she started walking over towards where the clerk was, and I thought, she didn't need to do all that. She's got an armful already. Just drop it in the basket. So I just turned around from where I was going, because I was heading out the door. I just grabbed the basket, turned around, and handed it to her. And she said, oh, thank you. Yeah, sure. Drop it in the basket. What do you do all that for? That wasn't any of my business. She was fine. It's a kindness. That's what unconditional love is, right? Love, kind, compassionate, all of the things. Do what you can where you are. And Spirit just said, grab the basket. You're going right, basket. Pastor, why does she need to come out here and drop her stuff? Right? Do you understand? So all the time, I just would have gone to my car because I have my peanuts. But Spirit said, a big bag of peanuts. Spirit said, grab the basket, take it back to her. I said, oh, sure, yeah, no problem. Do you see? This is how your life can be. This is how life, to me, is supposed to be. If we are individualized expressions of God, and we are, then why don't we just let life be easy? There was one of my first talks that I'd gone to in New Thought, the title was, and I've kept it in my head my whole life, and I actually use it in my prayers in the morning, let life be easy. Let it be easy. It's as easy or as difficult as you decide it to be. And if We are individualized expressions, and if Spirit is guiding us, we ask for it and we're open to it, then why wouldn't it be easy? Why wouldn't we be in the middle of flow? I'm standing, this is what an affirmation, I'm standing in the middle of the flow of life. That is an affirmation for me. I'm standing in the middle of the flow of life. So I expect great things to happen, even when it doesn't look like it. Even when something's happening, it doesn't look like it's going to be good. I'm waiting for the good to happen because I know good has to happen. It has to happen. That's my expectation. That is my belief. That is what we get to do if we know who we are. When we were at the meeting, I'm going to close this. As I close, this is a Baptist saying. As I close, and we go on for another 30 minutes, but I'm actually going to go on for another 5. There was another woman who, I met some friends in Waco, a group of women that I've been friends with for a long time, and so we had lunch together. And one of them invited a former nun to come and talk with us. And so she came, she was lovely. I think her name was Lynn. It's so interesting because she had to meet all of us, and so we're all shaking her hands. We had one person to meet, and I couldn't remember her one name. And then I went to ask people, I said, what's her name? No, I don't know. Did she say Lynn? Did she say Liz? Nobody. Jesus. None. Sister. That's it. It was sister. Anyway, she was lovely and she was beautiful. Everybody had so many questions because she was a former nun. So that means she was in left, and we were asking her all these questions about, how did you do? Why did you leave? Why did you go? Why did you stay? Whatever. The thing is, what I want to talk about is that she was very comfortable answering questions because she knew what she was doing. She knew who she was. She knew why she joined the order, and she knew why it was time for her to leave. She joined the order because she wanted to serve. And it was a pretty open order in that she could go out on the streets. They didn't wear a habit. They didn't wear that. So she could go out on the street and help homeless, help whoever they wanted to help. And that's what she wanted to do. But then as she was in it, it started changing, and they weren't allowing that to happen, and she said no. And she was a nurse by training. She was a nurse, so she wanted to go out and help and all that. Anyway, so as we were talking, and we would say things, she would input her knowing. Someone would say something, well, just do blah, 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 and she would say, sounds easy, doesn't it? Meaning, yeah, you're saying something like it's easy. Like I'm talking right now, and I'm telling you how it goes, and it sounds easy, and it's simple, not necessarily easy, because what has to happen is we have to decide. It's very difficult because there's so many choices to make a decision. Here's what happened when I decided what my top 5 beliefs were. I changed them. I changed them as I used them because I realized, oh, that's not the first one. That's not the right one. It's not in the right order. There's something missing. I do this more than that, right? So the thing is that not that you write it down and you get it right. You just write it down and you begin to use it and think, is that true? Is it true? As you show up and as you're out there doing what you're doing, you keep asking yourself, is this who I am? Is this how I want to show up? This doesn't matter to me at all. This really matters. That's all. It's about just being out there and discovering who you really are and letting Spirit flow through you. That is all. That is all. So I want you to know that we are God, individualized, expressed. How do you allow that to show up? Do you consciously or unconsciously show up? Because either way, you're showing up as God. Either way. You're showing up, and how you think about your life and what you believe and what you put forth is what manifests in your life, is what shows up. What I'd like for you to experiment with this week to release the splendor is, number 1, just remember who you are. Just know who you are. Not the physical being, but the real person, the real consciousness of who you are. Remember that everywhere you go. Stop for a second and think, who am I? I am God showing up as me right now. Remember that. Number 2, know what you believe. So work on some of those 5 truths or those 5 beliefs. Who are you? Write it down. Don't be afraid to write it down. You can scratch through it. If you can't erase it, scratch through it. Put something else on there. Okay? But just discover who that is, because once you do, it's so easy then. simple to show up as that, because you've got your little 5 little list. Did I show up as God? Did I show up with courage? Did I show up as unconditional love? Did I show up for my family and for my tribe? That's my top 5. Did I show up for that? That's all I got to do. That's all you have to do. So try that. And the third one is, once you do that, once you figure out what those 5 are, act from that place. Act from that knowing. So we are as we behave. When we behave the way we believe. Know who you are and what you believe to open the way out for that imprisoned splendor. Know what you believe and open a way out for that imprisoned splendor to be released. I want to leave you here with these 2 quotes. To be present in the moment. And that's what happens when you allow and you ask God to speak to you all the time. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, be with me, share with me every moment. To be present in the moment is to live in a state of grace. That's what we're asking for, to live in a state of grace. That was from Michael Beckwith. The second quote that I want to leave you with is, seeing a miracle will inspire you. But knowing that you are the miracle will change you. You are the miracle that people are waiting for. Show up as you. Be that miracle in your life and everybody else's. Step fully into your life, yes, and own who you are. You are the miracle that people want to see, and so it is. Namaste.